Jorge Ramos is often called the Walter Cronkite of Latino America.
La Unión Americana de los Derechos Civiles demandó...
A longtime co-anchor of Univision's nightly newscast, Noticiero Univision, is widely considered the most influential Hispanic broadcaster in America. Noticiero Univision attracts more than 2 million viewers in the United States and millions more in Latin America. Ramos also anchors Univision's Sunday public affairs show, Al Punto, as well as America with Jorge Ramos, a weekly English-language news magazine on Fusion, geared towards young adults.
Excuse me, sit down, you weren't called.
And his dust-up over the summer with Donald Trump introduced Ramos to a whole new audience.
You haven't been called.
I have the right to ask the question.
Go back to Univision.
Ramos made headlines after Trump's security escorted him out of a news conference in August for challenging the Republican presidential candidate's position on immigration. Ramos eventually was allowed back in to ask his questions.
How are you going to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants by plane, by bus? Are you going to bring the army?
No.
Are you going to put them in stadiums?
We're going to do it in a very humane fashion.
Ramos is known for his confrontational style.
If you have to decide between being a friend or an enemy of one of those powerful people we're talking to, I would rather be their enemy.
He isn't afraid to demand answers, whether it's from a presidential candidate or from the president himself, especially when it comes to immigration, a topic of vital interest to the Latino community.
As you're saying, you always had the legal authority to stop deportations. Then why did you deport 2 million people?
Jorge, we're not going to...
For 6 years you
no,
did it. You
listen,
destroyed
Jorge,
many families.
Jorge,
they call you deporter-in-chief.
You called me deporter-in-chief.
If someone in your family...
He's also driving the conversation on other controversial issues.
The question is if you would attend to a gay wedding.
Yeah, but somebody in my life that I love and care for, of course I would.
After this exchange with Florida Senator and presidential hopeful Marco Rubio, all the other Republican presidential candidates weighed in on the same-sex marriage debate.
Es la ceniza.
Born in Mexico City, Ramos quit his first reporting job in the early 80s after being asked to tone down a report on the Mexican government. Instead, he went to Los Angeles on a student visa, where he quickly got a job at the city's Spanish television station. He was 28 when he landed the anchor spot at Univision, becoming one of the youngest national news anchors in the history of American television. Ramos has covered 5 wars in more than 3 decades in journalism.
Where is Osama?
He once used his vacation to cover the war in Afghanistan after his network deemed it too dangerous for him to go.
When people are fleeing from a war, that's exactly where we go, and that's our role.
He's reported on some of the biggest news stories in recent history, from the fall of the Berlin Wall to the aftermath of September 11th, driving immediately from Miami to New York to report on the terror attacks. He's won 8 Emmys and written 11 books. The veteran journalist has interviewed world leaders, from American presidents to Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez. Ramos goes the extra mile for the stories that matter to his viewers. He swam the dirty Rio Grande River between Mexico and Texas to show the dangerous trek many undocumented immigrants make to come to the United States.
It is, of course, very comfortable to be here, but my role as a reporter is just to be out there.
He makes no apologies for taking a stand on issues that affect his audience. Some say he's become more of an advocate than a journalist, but Ramos shrugs off the criticism.
You have to take a stand when it comes to racism, discrimination, corruption, public lies, dictatorships, and human rights.
With the growing Hispanic community wielding an increasing amount of political clout, Ramos's influence is expected to grow as well in the 2016 presidential election and beyond. Ramos says it's his responsibility to use his position and his voice to speak for those who aren't being heard.
The most important social responsibility for any journalist is to challenge those who are in power and to prevent the abuse of those who are in power. I think that's our obligation.